Welcome to the Your Town television program. I'm your host, Gerald Vinci, author and owner of Vinci Digital Marketing. I have the great privilege of sitting down with some of the best and brightest minds along the Monterey Peninsula. Today, I'm speaking with three professional development experts who deliver transformational change and empowerment in our personal lives, our careers, and our businesses. So today I have Robert Murray. He's a supply chain consultant, supply chain management consultant and certified high performance coach. And his business is called Sustainable Growth Strategies. So Robert, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big title. I think we should probably start there.
Break it down a little to dial in what all of that means.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about you and your business.
Yeah, certainly. So the company name is Sustainable Growth Strategies. Mm-hmm. And what it is, it's a management consulting firm for people in the supply chain world. Okay. And it helps companies use their supply chain as a strategic source for growth and also building long-term relationships for the success of their business. Now, probably I should break down at this point what the heck is supply chain, right? Yeah, for sure. People are like, what is supply chain? So supply chain is the process by which companies get the parts that they need. So it's part of the operations, and it's really expanded significantly in its scope. It used to be just called purchasing years and years ago. And now it's kind of growing up from purchasing to also including warehousing, the logistics, the product development, the quality, the indirect material, keeping the factories running. So it's all aspects of keeping the business operating in a way that really works on a long-term basis.
Okay.
So, and a little bit about how I even got into that, or a little background on myself. When I was 15, I grew a company with a group of my friends from a complete startup to a $200 million company.
Wow.
Which was quite a ride, and quite a lucky ride, really. The idea of it was that if you operated based on doing the right thing as your primary objective of business success. Really, we had a management consultant that was kind of guiding us and leading us. Obviously, a group of kids, I was 15, I was the baby of the group, and a lot of the other people were in their 20s and a couple in their 30s. But he had this idea that doing the right thing in business, that if you could eliminate the cost of bad behavior, if you could treat your customers ethically, if you could treat your suppliers with respect, and if you can really eliminate the cost of friction and bad working relationships in your interdepartmental communications, the company would be successful naturally. You didn't necessarily have to focus on those specific metrics of growth and everything. And obviously that worked fantastically well, because we grew from a startup to a $200 million organization in a very short period of time.
Right. So how did you get involved at 15?
Geez, that was a funny story. So actually, I was hanging out with the company when I was 14. My mom worked when it was just starting out. She was working there. And I just didn't want to sit at home bored watching television by myself. So I went into the office, and the company had started a small store for the employees so that they could spend more time at work and really focus on getting the business off the ground and growing it. So I just volunteered, helped any way that I could. And then when the company started getting going, and I turned 15, and I was old enough to actually work legally at that point, even part-time after school, they said, hey, we need some help with the warehouse, and would you like to help? And I'm like, sure. They didn't even tell me actually initially what it was. It was just like, do you want to help do something else? It's like, yeah, that's cool. I'll do that. Yeah. And it was a bonus because I had been volunteering. They said afterwards, hey, do you want to know what you get paid? And it's like, whoa, I get paid? Awesome.
I make money to do this.
This is cool. So, and then the supply chain came about because I was, the guy who was running that needed to build a bigger facility for the organization. And he just couldn't handle it anymore. So they said, Rob, you're doing a great job doing what you're doing in the warehouse. Can you help with the purchasing department? And they're like, yeah, absolutely, go nail it in the purchasing department. So I became the purchasing manager when I was 16 years old.
Yeah, that's interesting. I started out helping with my family business with my father's print shop. Even earlier, I was helping. It's a printing business, so just helping out with small jobs, copy jobs, things like that. And then over time, I got trained in different equipment throughout the shop and worked there throughout my entire childhood. Grew up in the print shop, and then even when I was in college, I'd come home during the summer and work there. So it's interesting seeing the progression of the business throughout all those years.
Yeah, the thing I think it gave me, which was really cool, was it gave me that real view of what it takes to build a business from the ground up, because you get to see the whole stages of a company's growth. When it's immature, you don't have the really defined systems yet, but then you figure it out, and you really learn probably better that way than
absolutely
than anything else.
So what were some of the biggest lessons you learned from starting the business?
Probably the biggest lesson that I learned was that business can be an agent of change for good. The core mission of the company was, as I was saying, to do the right thing. That was our focus of attention. And we were thinking about doing the right thing the way we were doing gave us an amazing strategic and competitive advantage that I had no idea. I don't think any of us had any idea it would grow to $200 million and from the original 15 or 20 of us to 1,000 employees. But it really did give us a huge strategic advantage. And one of the things the management consultant would often say is, there's no line item on the balance sheet for bad behavior, but it's one of the highest costs any company will ever incur.
Sure.
And because of eliminating that, because we were all rallied around a mission that we cared about, which was changing the discussion of business, we suspended a lot of the normal friction that would occur in a company. And we enjoyed ourselves. We loved what we were doing. And we were able to offer lower prices. We had better customer service. We were able to bring things to the market much more quickly because we didn't have that uphill battle to...
Happier employees, too.
Yeah, everybody was happier. And it's funny to that point. I didn't even realize until maybe 20 years into that fun event that I was even working. Like, as far as I was concerned, I was just hanging out with my friends, doing something that I really cared about, and making a difference in the world.
Sure.
So
wow,
that was, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now, why do you have a passion for consulting and coaching?
Well, I think it's really a couple things. One of the things that I learned is probably an additional lesson from that is how important it is to hold on to the core values that really made you successful in the first place. And as we were doing that, as we were so focused on doing the right thing, the company grew and we were basically unstoppable. At some point, what happened was the company's growth went into that almost parabolic growth curve. We were growing $20 million a year, year after year after year, and we're like, oh, this is awesome. How do we take ourselves from 200 million to $500 million? And we started focusing on the wrong things. It wasn't the core mission of doing the right thing. So we called in some outside consultants, and they said to do the traditional things. They said, stop using the slow process of involving all of the people in the company in the decision-making process. Shut the door.
Right.
Why don't you acquire some other companies that may not share your core values, which we didn't even realize that's what it was, but they were suggesting that. And at some point, because of not keeping to the core mission, the thing that really mattered to us, the company's growth started to stagnate and the culture started to change. And eventually we got into a situation where a lot of the people who really believed in that initial core mission of doing the right thing said, you know what, this isn't right for me anymore. So I think that really gave me the passion for coaching because that worked so well. I mean, maybe even just spreading the joy. Like, how many people have a period in their lives where they can say, I worked 20 years and didn't even know I was working because I enjoyed it so much.
Right.
And
well, yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize that either about their businesses. They go to work and they go through the motions, but they don't think about all of the people that they affect throughout the day. Other businesses they interact with and all of the customers that you serve, how do you change their lives for the better, So having that mindset from the beginning is really strong.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a difference. And really, I guess maybe the reason for coaching is because I want to share that experience with as many people as possible, because I know it's possible and it's something you can do over the long term.
So how do you tie supply chain and high performance coaching together?
It's funny because they don't seem like they're particularly well related to each other initially, but they totally are. Supply chain is all about a series of interconnected relationships with people. And it's the relationships in a business that make the company succeed. And the coaching really ties into that aspect of it. How do you make the relationships so good and eliminate some of the friction that would normally occur that slows everything down, that costs money, that adds extra cost to the equation. One of the things that I'm really excited about that I'm utilizing right now is a framework called appreciative inquiry. And the idea of appreciative inquiry is that when you're in a consulting engagement, you don't go in and say, all right, what's broken, who screwed up, what do we need to fix today? And it's
focus
like,
on the negative.
Gosh. It's just like gets everybody into that defensive, negative mindset. And instead it asks the questions, what are the strengths of the people in the organization? What are the core values of all of us? What are the strengths that we have? And then how can we together create the future that we want to create based on those strengths? And it is just, people are so much more engaged and creative and excited when they're co-creating the future together rather than getting into that situation where they're just defending their turf and everything.
Yeah.
So it's been really a game changer, and it brings about kind of a whole system organizational change. So I think that kind of ties in the whole full circle of how coaching and the supply chain works together, because they're both holistic processes.
Yeah, and you said earlier too that the whole process, or what supply chain stands for now versus what it used to stand for, just purchasing. Now it's everything, all these systems and processes that you help set up. So with the coaching, you actually get to establish the process and then make sure that the people, operating the process are capable and have that vision, and you've almost developed this culture within the company to keep that in place. So I see it. I like it. So what was the one thing holding you back from starting your business?
That was kind of interesting. I would say honestly it was probably me and my mindset more than anything else. One of the things that happened when I was serving in my last corporate job as a director of supply chain, as I was recounting the successes of that job with somebody, I said, I set up an office in China. I cut millions of dollars out of our direct material cost. I cut 30% out of our freight costs. And I helped one of my employees realize what his potential was. And as I said that, my eyes started to tear up. And I'm like, wow, okay, I see what means something to me now, because helping that employee really made a difference to me. So I went all in. I started attending every coaching class. I became a certified high-performance coach so that I could do the coaching work. And I had this brilliant idea that I was going to change the world by just working with people and just coaching them one-on-one and transforming their lives. And the thing that I finally realized is that that's great.
Yeah.
That's a huge bonus. But people don't necessarily buy transformation. They don't know that they need that. What they do know they need is the business results. They need their inventory managed correctly. They need to be able to increase their turns or cut their costs, on the supply chain side. And so I think the thing that was holding me back in my business was that I didn't realize I needed to talk the language of the customers. What the market was saying it wanted was the business results first. And then when they started talking to me, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so much more, because you have the ability to also teach us how to sustain the changes and not just fix things once, but fix things on a regular and permanent basis.
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying about culture too. It's like you change the system and then change the mindset of the team using it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that. That's really cool. So what's something that you're excited about right now?
I think the thing I'm excited the most about right now is seeing this movement, the whole movement where I'm talking initially about the lesson I learned of business can be an agent of change for good in the world, it's starting to take hold. And I'm really, really excited about accelerating businesses that have that mindset and helping them through really helping their supply chain. But there's this whole conscious capitalism movement, or for-purpose business, or Game Changers 500, and it's really starting to grow. And the one thing that's just burned in my mind from my past experiences is that you can't be successful on a long-term basis. You can't compete successfully in the world market today unless you stand for something, unless everybody's on the same page, unless you're reducing the costs of the bad behavior. And so I just see this as at some point, businesses run the traditional way that just, do harm and take advantage of customers. They're not going to be able to compete in the global marketplace anymore.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking about something about that point too. I lost my train of thought. So what do you think the best business advice you ever received was?
I think probably the best business advice, oh geez, there's so much.
I know.
Probably the best one that I received recently that's really been making a huge difference for me is the power of surrounding yourself with the right group of people. That's one of the things that's probably changed most dramatically as I became a coach and consultant. Mm-hmm. And instead of getting into that situation where people are negative, they're complaining all their time, they're talking about their troubles, I'm surrounding myself with people who are growing businesses, they're changing the world, they have new ideas. And that gets me excited. I get up and then I realize what the potential is by seeing what these people are doing, and it's like, okay, this story I'm telling myself, that's not the real thing. That's just a limiting belief.
Right.
So,
yeah, with conscious capitalism too, are you looking to connect with people who are already kind of in that mindset, or helping people transform towards that mindset?
Honestly, I think I'm really looking to connect with people who are in that mindset already. Because if you're not there already, it's difficult to convince people to shift that way. But it's very easy to help teach people operationally how to sustain what they already believe over the long term.
Right. All right. Well, we're just about out of time. So tell us real quick where we can find you and learn more about what you do.
Yeah. So the company name is Sustainable Growth Strategies. So it's all run together, Sustainable Growth Strategies, really long. So I'm trying to figure that out. And if you want to get in touch with me, probably the easiest way is to use my personal email because it's shorter. And that is Rob H. Murray, so ROBHMURRAY @gmail.com. And I'd love to connect with you. Obviously, you can look over the website, but really, it's all about the relationships.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us today, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
So you've been watching the Your Town television program. I'm your host, Gerald Vinci. Tune in every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. on AMP Channel 27, and you can also visit us online at yourtown.tv. Thanks for tuning in.